Cool. So, because we'll touch on your other course, the one that I probably push more after this, but and this probably be hard for you to probably come up with. But do you know, like, I guess off the top of your hand, like, I guess how many people maybe have said they've used your course in some sort of faction that is, helped them in there, like to get a start going from like no type of, IT background to now all of a sudden they have like some sort of entry level IT job.
Yeah, you mean like how many people in the course versus how many people like got a job or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I recently did analytics for this on the cybersecurity course, and I have like a whole video like completely breaking the whole thing down with like graphics and everything. So I guess look for that. It's just not out yet. I'll try to remember off the top of my head. So um, in the cybersecurity course, there's about 1,900 students who have like bought it or whatever, who have memberships. And you can kind of think about it like a funnel. I was really surprised when I looked at the analytics because you can see like the progress of like how many people have gone through the course. And so maybe at the top, like, there's like 1,900 people who bought it. And then like only like 700 people have completed like half of the course. And then only like 300 people have done the whole course. It's like really interesting like stats, which I wouldn't expect, but I guess it makes sense. And then I keep track of, or I try to keep track of when somebody mentions in Discord, like, oh, I have a staff that does this. I dedicated someone to do it, to like watch for people who like get jobs and then like interact with people and ask them so I can like gather them up or whatever. And when I made that video, I on my list that I seen in Discord who have gotten jobs was 60 people. So like the top of the funnel is 1,900 and then whatever, and then 60 people that I know of who have found jobs who have actually like told me about it. There's probably like at least more than zero other people who have gotten jobs, and I just don't know anything about it. But I know 60 for sure. But it's kind of weird because if you think about it, you imagine like when somebody buys a course like that, you just imagine like, okay, they're just going to go through it and then try to job hunt in the end and like get a job. That's kind of like the obvious path, but that's like not what happens. Like a lot of people buy it and they just like sit on it. Like hundreds of people haven't even started it after buying it. So it's like it's really weird, and a lot of people have finished it but they're like not actually looking for jobs yet because they're like studying something else. So it's hard to like convey the efficacy of the course, if that makes sense. But I do my best to like tell people like and be transparent. But yeah, did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. Well, that's about the cybersecurity one. So I would say, is that more or less the same numbers for the IT one too?
Probably, but I don't know. I keep track of those, but I haven't made a video about it, and I haven't analyzed the analytics for it yet. But I do have somebody watching both discords and like keeping track of when people say like, oh, I got a job. I know there's like a decent amount in the IT course because the IT course has more people, and it's in my opinion, it's like easier to get into entry level IT than cybersecurity. So you can probably imagine it's like the same ratio or better than the cybersecurity course, just because there's like more people and it's easier to break into the field. But did I say already IT course has, I think, about like 3,500 people, I think.
Oh wow.
Um,
So yes, almost like almost triple.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The IT course has like payment plan. It's been out for like longer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Exactly. That's the one I direct people to if they don't have like any experience. I tell them, I was like, yes, can I help you get into cybersecurity with no background? Yeah. How hard it would be, maybe depend on you and other contributing factors. So I was like, you got to play the numbers game. And based on what I've seen on the job market, on top of the pros and the cons of 2020 to about 2022, of when everybody was just getting jobs to where companies have kind of snatched their power back with the return to office and hiring different ways and making interviews a little bit harder. I was like, it's kind of different now.
Yeah, for sure. Like tech has those cycles that follow the economic uncertainty, unlike, being a nurse or something. It's like,
Right. Yeah. And I've seen that firsthand in my own career of like, technically having a job, but due to business not getting it just because they're like, hey, we got to hold out on these funds until Q1. So,
yeah.
which is some of the things that people don't talk about. But one of the other things I want to touch on and just tell you, or it's one, tell you, but two, also ask you, because people do this to me a lot. Some people don't like necessarily purchase like, my coaching services or anything like that, but they watch like a lot of my content. And so I've had people like recently, a guy reached out to me. He said, "Hey, I've been watching your content for the last 3 years, and I want to let you know I got my first, SOC analyst job, and I used to work like in a warehouse or whatever." So I like to say that you probably can't quantify it, but there's probably so many people that you help get jobs. They probably just haven't all told you. Yo, if you're looking for a way to start your cybersecurity career, then check out Josh Matacor's course at Level Careers. He has a great cybersecurity course targeted for beginners, very affordable, and if you're familiar with Josh Matacor, he's also a brilliant YouTuber and puts out a lot of helpful content. So here are some of the reasons why you can choose cybersecurity: high demand, job security, competitive salary, work variety, and fulfilling work. The national average salary of an information security analyst is $113,000. Overview of the course: theory introduction, security refresher, security frameworks, security regulations and standards, security operations signals. Then you have these great labs with Azure, logging and monitoring, Microsoft Sentinel, secure cloud configuration content. So if you're interested in that course, click the link in my bio and use my code to get 10% off your course. So
Yeah.
I would just say like that's another like measurement. Like that's kind of one of the things like I kind of talk about as well too. Is like, I can't necessarily quantify all these people, but I do know like whether it's an introspective video or an interview like this, I always put it out with saying, hey, if it only reaches like one person, that person that's meant to reach, then it's like did its job. So that's one of the things I also try to look at when I'm making content, because you can't you can't make everybody happy. I've even seen some of the hecklers in your videos sometimes talking about he's only
Yeah.
showing the success stories, and I'm like, who wouldn't
What do
like?
you want me to? What do you want me? What's the alternative? I know that comment that you're saying.
Yeah, I saw it when I was like, come on, bro. I like the thing is, and of course you're a course maker and you have your Discord, and there's probably some other things you do that, I don't know about. But I know for me, being a coach, you know, I know right on from who I meet with, who's possibly going to be the most successful and who possibly is going to have like some trouble, but they'll eventually get there. It's all really still based on and contingent on that person. And a lot of people try to take their accountability off of it when they feel like they bought a service or a course. And so they try to shift it to you when, hey, I've already been in the industry. I made this stuff to actually help you, because to go get this information somewhere else, they would charge you triple, quadruple the price of what you're being charged here. Now it's on
Yeah.
you to at least take this information and springboard it into a career. Cause that's one of the other things I talk about. I say, okay, cool. You bought, this course and you did all this and that. Number one, I tell people the stuff you did while doing the course, still try to do it sometime every day because you're new to it and you'll forget it. And I say, okay, after that, see, based off the research and maybe what domain that you want to do, see how you can build off of the skills or add on to that sim environment you just made to keep your skills sharp and to kind of impress employers. So a lot of people are just stopping at phase one, not realizing there are other phases they can go to, but they are not pushing themselves. They're thinking, okay, which I've never heard you say directly, if you do this course, you're going to get into cybersecurity.
Oh
But they'll
yeah.
say, well, I bought this course and I should get in. Or this person right here, they went from this and that, they got in, but maybe that person wasn't willing to put in, 100 applications a week or something, or whatever. When you don't have the experience, you are unfortunately playing a numbers game. I don't really agree with the spray and pray method, but it does happen to work for some people.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I. It depends on it depends on how good your resume is. Like if you have like a 10-10 resume, you might get a callback or something after submitting 50 applications, but you have like some crap is wrong with it. You're using like columns and you're getting like filtered by the ATS. It's possible you can submit like 1,000 applications and like nothing happens, right? So it just
Yeah. Funny you said that. The latest talk of the town last week on Twitter, and we covered this like live on the podcast last week, was some guy tweeted that he got laid off in I think June of 2023, and I think they technically still don't have a job now. And since then,
damn.
they have applied to 493 jobs, and haven't gotten any offers or any like hitbacks or anything like that. And so Bees commented on it and said, well, that's only 10 a week. You really weren't applying enough. She said, if possible, I tell the people in my courses to apply to 10 a day if you can. And that kind of, that everybody like had their own opinion on that. While I don't agree, like I said, to apply for a lot, I do believe if you only were applying to 10 per week, then that may not be enough for you. And if you're going through that many, I mean, of course, bad resume, and you might not have a lot of skills. You might not be a marketable person in this market. And that's, I think, a lot of people are not doing. One of the things I talk about, I think I talked about this in my LinkedIn learning course, but also the clients or anybody else is like being self-aware with where you are, where your skill set stands, because it'll also help you in an interview to not beef up your resume like you're some staff level security engineer, and then you get into the interview and then they start asking you staff level questions and you
Yeah.
really are like a notch below senior level. I've seen that happen too.